What's up, Mushroom fam? It's Gary with Fresh from the Farm Fungi. Today, I'm gonna be the mycotechnologist and go through some different troubleshooting issues on forums. I get a lot of questions from you guys, so if you have any specific questions, feel free to comment below or comment on any one of my videos that are out there. One of the things that I like to do is to help people figure out problems. And if you're looking for good genetics, go check out our Etsy shop, Fresh Fungi. That's the number one place to start is with good genetics. All right, let's dive into this. Okay, so we've got a question in growing for beginners and experts. Wholesale, what's the lowest you sell for and the most? Winter has me wanting to reach out to wholesalers. Okay, so I would say in my development of my farm, I always considered wholesale as a way to, a way to offload excess mushrooms. So I always prefer direct to consumer. So there's a few different reasons. Obviously the main one is price point. And then there are other regulatory aspects here in Colorado when you're selling wholesale. So if you don't do direct consumer, definitely make sure you're following all the guidelines in your area. But as far as like the lowest you would sell, I would say the lowest I would sell is still a profit. You don't want to be giving away your mushrooms for free because you'll quickly put yourself out of business. So that being said, I think $12 to $15 a pound for oyster mushrooms is pretty normal here in Colorado. Lion's mane, higher demand, so I wouldn't go lower than $15 a pound wholesale. And whenever I do wholesale, I do 10-pound increments. I recently got some flat, clear, see-through flat boxes that they fit 6 pounds. So in that case, I would do 2 of those boxes, so 12-pound minimum. And that way, you're not wasting your time driving all over. And it really depends on the time of year. So for my farm, seasonally, it did not make sense to grow in winter because the demand is lower after the holidays and the cost of heating makes it really difficult to move a lot of mushrooms and make your money back. So that was the decision that I made really early, was to shut down in the winter months and only attack the markets when they're in most demand, which here in Colorado, that's the farmers markets in the summer. But that's kind of a personal decision. A lot of times, if you're seeking restaurants or larger food distributors, you can start off by giving them a free sample and then talking about price points after that. But my personal philosophy is quality over quantity. I've seen so many mushroom farms go out of business because, these larger customers, they'll flip a switch instantly and then you're out, 100 pounds a week on one customer. In order to have a more stable farm, I recommend having multiple customers and doing direct to consumer sales. But if you do reach that point where you're seeking out wholesale clients, just make sure that you continue to make a profit. Okay, so the next question is flow hood critiques. Okay, so mushroom growing, Clinton Brumley's post. I saw someone asking about laminar flow hoods and thought I'd post mine, the DIY version, and the price details. I plan on an actual fabricated hood sometime, but for now, corrugated plastic and tape. Okay, so it looks like they got a HEPA filter from Menards for $54, a tote from Walmart for $14, air purifier from Amazon for $40, a silicone tube for $4, and the total cost was less than $125. So my initial thoughts are that it looks pretty janky. So I would not, start a business selling these flow hoods, but it could get the job done. The HEPA filter is not a robust one, so it's just one of those paper ones that you would get as like a pre-filter, or like sometimes the HEPA filters that come in like a standalone air filter would work. But those are gonna break down really easily, especially if you're spraying isopropyl. So I would say it would be good for a couple rounds here and there. But if you're gonna, be doing any serious mycology, I recommend getting a prefab flow hood. I've got a few different recommendations on my Amazon store, or if you're interested, check out the latest video that I did. I've reviewed a few flow hoods at this point, but definitely they're worth your money in investing, although it's kind of cool to see how creative people get using a tote and a paper HEPA filter. So the next question is about LC to grain ratio. So how much grain substrate is needed for 10 mil of liquid mycelium? So that's a weird way to question that. I would say how much liquid mycelium should be used for X amount of grain. So 10 cc's could potentially inoculate, I would say 10 half pint jars. So 1 cc per half a pint, or 2 cc's per pint is a pretty good rule of thumb. It really depends on your aseptic technique and how fast you want that mushroom to colonize. So the more culture you use per grain jar, the faster and the greater likelihood it will succeed. So oftentimes I'll just use a full 10 cc's on a 2.5 pound bag of grain, and then that will colonize within 2 weeks. So I would say it really depends on how much culture you have on hand, how quickly you want your grain jar to colonize, and how confident you are with your aseptic technique. So the more liquid culture, the faster that jar will colonize, and the more likely it will be to succeed. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed those Mycology videos. If you're looking forward to more videos like these, subscribe. If you're looking for premium quality genetics, go check out our Etsy shop, Fresh Fungi. And if you have any specific questions, like I said, comment below. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can. Until next time, much love.